Welcome to episode 3 of the RMW Rock My World podcast. I'm Tony Fennell, coming to you from Massachusetts, and as always, let me introduce you to my two co-hosts. We've got our man holding down the fort in Chicago, Chuck Masak. How are you doing, mate?
I am doing wonderful today.
Excellent. Happy 4th of July for yesterday, by the way.
Yes, happy 4th of July.
Nice. And across the pond in Leeds, in England, we've got the youth of the operation, Mike Litson. How you doing, sir? You good?
I'm good. God save the Queen and screw 4th of July.
And all of that stuff. Get that tea down, you might. All right, nice one. Right, let's get at it. The summer tour season is already in full swing and bands are already raking in the cash. You've only got to look at Metallica's huge stadium tour and, of course, Kiss are saying goodbye to fans on their End of the World tour. Well, Polestar have just released the details of the highest grossing tour bands so far. The numbers are big, guys, really, really big. Metallica came in at a very tidy 4th place in the top 10 after Elton John, Pink and Justin Timberlake. Now, don't start feeling sorry for Metallica for not grabbing the number 1 spot, by the way, especially when you weigh up the fact that they've sold a whopping, hold on to your hats here, 635,000 plus tickets and have so far grossed $69.7 million. And that's from November 22nd, 2018 to May 22nd, 2019. That's a lot of money. Chuck, what's your thoughts, mate?
I think that they're out there doing their thing and making money. I mean, I'm looking at this massive list of artists. Little bummed at how little of rock bands are in here.
Well, yeah, but let's keep that in perspective then. So the top 10, we've got Elton John, he's made a lot of money. Pink, she's made a lot of money. Timberlake, Justin Timberlake's made a lot of money. And then we go 4, Metallica, 69 million. Fleetwood Mac, 5th at 67.7 million. 7th would be Kiss at 58.1 million. And then you got Trans-Siberian Orchestra, 57 million. And that's serious money. Bob Seger, 52.8 million, and Travis Scott, all right, so it's not rock, but look, there are real bands out there making cash. You know, luckily for us, it's not just, and I don't mean this in any disparaging way to Britney Spears and that lot, but those guys like to stand up there and mime, and they put on a big show, but at least our boys, Metallica, Fleetwood Mac, Kiss, Bob Seger, Trans-Siberian, these are real bands playing real gigs. The top 100, Chuck, is it really that bereft of rock bands?
Well, I mean, last at 100th, you got Def Leppard.
At 100th?
Yep.
Wow. I mean, and by the way, how much did Def Leppard bring in?
Their interesting. Their ticket prices are about $67.
Wow.
Per ticket. Average tickets sold 10,000.
Wow.
Total.
And let's always keep in mind here that we're talking ticket sales and gross.
Yeah, gross is 700,000 for them.
Right, but what we're not even taking into consideration here is with these humongous tours comes humongous merch. Some of the, I've seen the trucks arriving. You've got the stage truck, the tour bus, the crew tour bus, and then you got that truck at the end, and you're thinking, what's that one doing? Part of the 7 that arrive into the arena. That last truck is just straight ahead merch.
It's where the money's being made.
That is right. That's right.
I read an interesting article a ways back where a mid-sized metal band, small to mid, their manager put out a thing on what it costs to tour.
Right.
It was interesting. I won't say the name of the band or anything like that, but they were total income for about a 45-day run.
Yep.
Was $82,500.
Not a lot of money.
No, it says the tour income was $2,000 per night per show, guaranteed 30 dates, $60,000, $750 per night in gross merch sales, 30 dates, $22,500.
I've actually just last year I did that tour. Basically, not that exact tour, but I did that tour. Same kind of money coming in, same kind of merch coming in. Well, merch was weird because some nights it was really what carried the band. You know, you'd get an X amount because you're on a Live Nations tour. And they can be very,
the commissions are pretty big. I'm looking the total commissions, which was management, merch expense, agents commissions, blah, 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 was $26,000.
Right.
Crew expenses were about $10,800. So front of house, tour manager, $1,000 a week, merch seller, $650 a week, the driver, $600, stage tech, $450. Then they got vehicle and travel expenses.
Well, we're talking about a band that's basically staying on the road purely through merch. That's the bottom line here.
Well, yeah. I mean, total vehicle expenses $11,000.
Yeah.
Production cost $3,500. Band and crew per diems $2,800. Gross income $82. Expenses $54. Total, the profit on the tour was $27,000.
Well,
and let's be realistic here. That's not that much. And if you're a 5-piece band versus a 3-piece, that's going to make a massive difference then in this day and age.
They said each band member for that made $5,000.
Right, and again, I've done that. The one thing about those tours that are great, and I have to say this, is when you're when you're playing B and C rooms. If you walk on that tour with a little bit of excess weight, I promise you'll have lost it within 3 weeks because there's no food, and the riders are relatively small. But we're talking about smaller bands here. These top 10 bands, Elton John took in $82.6 million. That's insane numbers. Now that's got to be part of the Las Vegas run, right? Because it's a guaranteed income, relatively low overheads. Because once you've set it up, you've set it up.
They're saying average ticket price $135. Average tickets sold 14,000. Total tickets sold 608. Average gross 1.9 million. Let's see, cities shows 42 shows.
This is Elton John.
Yeah, Elton John.
Right. Well, and it's crazy when you look at those ticket prices. And if I can just touch on that for a second, ticket prices have been seriously jumping up over the years. It's pretty crazy. If you go back to the 60s, buying tickets to a live show was a completely different animal. Let's take the Beatles, for instance, at Shea Stadium in New York in 1965. Now, that show cost concert goers at the time $5.65 for the most expensive seat in the house. Now, if you adjust for inflation, that would actually come in at $45.84. And let's face it, guys, I don't think there's a Beatles fan or a music fan in the world that wouldn't jump at that. That means nothing because what the reality is this: when you base it against the average price for, let's say, an Adele ticket, that's $395.79. You've got to be saying, what? Also keep in mind that that's the average ticket price and not the resale price. That same ticket, when scalpers are selling it to you, is going to be through the roof. I mean, absolutely crazy. Hey, Mike, how much did you pay for your Spice Girls tickets?
I think if I went to that, I'd have had to have been on the pay to have my arm twisted.
But guys, we all know it is a license to print cash. Mike, what about you, mate? What do you think?
I mean, there's some ticket prices that aren't ridiculous, right? And we shouldn't moan about everybody. I think last time I saw the Chili's up, it was about 40, which seems totally reasonable.
That's £40, so $60 around.
Yeah, maybe a bit less at the moment because I think the exchange is garbage, but that's another. I guess in terms of real terms and money, yeah, which to me seems reasonable, right? Now, on the other hand, you get some of these older artists who maybe a bit past when their heyday was. I think not that long ago I went to see Alkaline Trio, and that was in your money would have been about $24. Now that again is totally reasonable. If anything, that's actually a steal, to be perfectly
That's pretty
honest.
cheap.
So I mean, you do see it, but then it's basically the second that a band crosses into kind of that post Chili's size, it seems to just go absolutely bananas because the Chili's aren't a small band.
Well, they're not, and I was going to say that $45 to go and see the Chili's, yeah, it's not disgraceful. It's the $120 for the hoodie. It's the
yes, that's true.
$38 for the old man's cap. It's the and we all know. Look, you've got to subsistence money comes from merchandise, but £45. That's not bad. I think ticket prices in the US are invariably higher.
I'm pretty surprised looking at this list at how many are not over $100. I mean, there's plenty that are ridiculous. Over $100 tickets seem to be between $100 and $145 for a lot of these. I mean, you've got Lady Gaga at $269 per ticket, and you've got Aerosmith at $205 per ticket.
Now, is that the Aerosmith Las Vegas run?
They don't say here which one. It has to be because that's in this time frame. I mean, then you got Springsteen on Broadway at $506 a ticket.
Yeah, but Bruce Springsteen plays for 642 hours. You're exhausted by the end of it. I mean, he goes on stage, he doesn't come off.
But I'm pretty surprised. Like Disturbed, average ticket price $57.
Wow.
Muse's average ticket price $77.
Interesting.
Weezer $52. Shinedown $59.
Now, that is not shocking, as I say, and we all know where the subsistence comes from. We know where the added cash for the bands to stay out on the road and to offer those kind of prices. It all comes from merchandise, but that is actually pretty darn reasonable, I got to say, guys.
Well, you know what? If you can't get the people in, they're not going to buy anything.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Economics, pure economics.
I mean, I think for somebody going to Lady Gaga, I'd have to say the bulk of the people going to that are going to be a mom and dad taking their 16-year-old daughter, and they're buying the whole thing.
Well,
you know?
Well, here's the thing. Mom and dad are taking their kid and they're like, oh, Mom, thanks very much. It's when they get there, the parents start going, oh, because they start seeing the hoodies. They start seeing the T-shirts, the wristbands, the rings. But, you know, I've got to say, love her or hate her, that woman puts on a show.
Oh, yeah.
You're paying for a show. You're not going there to watch somebody mime. That girl gives it some.
As much as we think that I mean, a lot of them are amazing musicians, but they're entertainers.
That's
right. They put on, and that's also why the ticket prices could get up because of the cost of production.
Right.
You know. And the other thing I noticed is more and more bands are just doing festivals.
Right.
And I'm interested. I looked into what some artists make playing the big fests, like, you know, Glastonbury or the R1 Big Weekend. Yeah. You know, I was doing some research, and Oasis, each band member made £1 million.
When was that?
They don't give a date on this.
So I think they split up.
That's probably Glastonbury.
Yeah, it's been a while since they toured. So if that was then, imagine the price for. Well, in fact, here we go. Imagine a reforming Oasis playing Glastonbury. You can't put a price on that. It's the modern day Led Zeppelin scenario. You know, everybody, especially in England, you know, you got to remember 250,000 people were going apeshit at Nebworth. Everybody at the same time going crazy to Wonderwall. 250,000 people. And the same for Robbie Williams. In America, can't get arrested. You put him on at Nebworth, 2 nights, 250,000 people paying serious money. But it's interesting.
And then you see a band like the 1975 is getting paid $180,000 to do. I think that was for the Big Weekend. But right, then, you know, a lot of bands are doing it for free because they're, you know, it's different in the UK than here in the States because the States doesn't televise anything like this, where, you know, the Big Weekend and Glastonbury are all televised, and to them it's a small or a mid-sized band. The promotion they're going to get from it is huge, so they'll do it for free.
I mean, let's also keep in mind that the travel costs on tour in the States are going to be way higher than they are if you're doing a UK tour.
Yeah, good point, Mike. Very, very good point.
I mean, like, you can drive around the entirety of the UK, and, you know, from top to bottom, we're only a few hundred miles. I mean, that's just one state, but you've hit.
I got a question for you, Mike. How much did it cost you in petrol when you were following the Spice Girls around during their tour?
Well, once again, you couldn't pay me, but I think my current car would probably be an unfair judge on petrol prices.
Right.
But I mean, in general, look, you can do. How far, realistically, are you going to have between 2 nights in the UK? I mean, it's going to be a 1-hour drive at most.
I mean, doing a complete European tour is tiny compared to doing the States.
Well, it's true, and you know, unless it's Stevie Wonder doing the mapping for the tour, and he's just going one there, one there, one there. You know, if it's done correctly, you really are saving a huge amount of money on gas, time, expenditure. You know, it's very, very easy to get from one place to the other in England, unless the tour routing is done by a crazy person. And I've done both of those, where it's like, okay, the first night I arrived in the UK, we played Edinburgh. The next gig was in London. Literally, it was in London. It was like, so the first night you're having a drink, you're having a party, everybody's way, and you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning with the reality. Now we've got to travel for 9 hours down to London.
Was
Mental.
the tour planned by an American? Because you guys seem to have, over there, seem to have way more a way broader idea of what is an acceptable commute.
Well, and a lot of them, hey, look, if the venue will take you, the venue will take you. And that, by the way, boys, will lead me on to this. Look, while the bigger venues are thriving on the back of huge tours, obviously, expos and conferences, the smaller venues are closing at an alarming rate. Check this out. In the UK, 25% of the pubs in the country have closed since 2001, right? That's bad enough. But a lot of those pubs had little decent-sized venues attached to them. The question to the two of you is, where the hell do the bands go now to cut their teeth and play? They are closing.
It's horrible here in Chicago. I mean, I know most of the venues have shut down here.
Doubledore, gone, right?
Gone, yeah. I mean, the city, all the cool clubs in the city are just being sold because they want to develop apartments and condos, and the guys who own those are like, man, I'll sell this for whatever, $10 million and cash out.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But there's nowhere to play. I mean, there really is there's a handful of great places to go see bands, but it's I don't know. I would be scared to start a band now.
See, in the UK, we've got a similar problem. I would say we're not in a massive shortage, for the tiny rooms, the ones where, most you're going to fit 100 people in coming to see you, and realistically, you're not going to get that many people coming to see you. We are just starting out, almost warm-up rooms, I'd call them. They're fine. It's the next step, which has just died in the UK. Tony,
what size is the next step?
The next step is maybe, you can they've got a decent sound system, a proper stage, and you can get, say, 400 people in there comfortably, and then you'll get more, but it's a bit tight, They're the ones that are dying. And the ones of those that are still alive are quite often booking sort of larger, but how to put this nicely, the more washed up acts rather than
the problem in the UK, far more than the US here, Mike, is that those same small venues where I would play as a kid, I would go there and I would go and knock the hell out of the band, and we'd work out the kinks. You can't get in those nights anymore. You know why? Because there's a cover band doing Metallica, or there's a cover band playing Led Zeppelin, or there's a cover band. It's never ending. England is inundated with really
that
good.
Problem is huge here, Tony.
Yeah, but they're good bands. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking these guys, but Jesus, you got to find a place for young bands writing, and you need a place to screw it up.
But here's the thing: is if you own that venue, putting a cover band on means that you're full. Right? If you put on a local band that 99% of them don't bother to promote their own stuff very well, and maybe 20 people will turn up, and I know this from back when I was doing promotion for these kind of rooms, and I'm sure you guys have both seen it. That what happens is you expect the band to you don't expect them to bring in hundreds of people, but so for that venue to wash its face, if it puts 4 bands on, it really needs each of them to bring 25 people with them.
Well, and that's where pay to play came in. And when I very first moved to the States, I saw that, and obviously, Chuck, this game. The pay to play in America blew my mind when I first got here.
Oh,
you don't get enough tickets, you ain't playing. It's like, well, what? Or you can just hand us this amount of cash. It's just crazy.
Well, the bands always just, they got to buy the tickets and then they end up giving them away. And it just, the numbers astound me. And, I deal with bands in the studio all the time and we talk about live stuff. And, I just did a band and they're young band. I'm like, how'd you guys do on your last show at whatever club, B Kitchen or whatever? Yep. Oh, it was an amazing show. We had about 13 people there paid. I'm like, how is that amazing? Like, I mean, I'm old, and I remember, going back to the biggest rock club in Chicago back in the early 90s, the Thirsty Whale.
Yeah.
A shitty night for one of the bands was 100 people.
Mm.
The local big bands would draw 750 to 1,000.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
that's no internet. That's no.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just astounding to me. And so many bands that I see that I work with, they'll go, "We're going on tour." Cool. And I watch their feed from Instagram or whatever. They're playing house shows. There's 10 people at each show.
Yeah.
I'm like, how are you affording to drive and put gas in the truck and eat?
Well,
And
the reality is they're not.
they're racking up a credit card debt. I know many bands who just take out a credit card to go on tour.
Oh, that's crazy, man. I mean, the thing is, look, I understand the halfway house pay-to-play model, which was sell X tickets or you don't get paid. But I don't understand the guys that forced you to purchase tickets. I think that's where it crosses the line.
Well, that's everything here in the States.
Oh yeah, as kids, I mean, I can remember. I'm born and bred in Birmingham, England, and I can remember we played this place. This is a true story. We played the Catholic Community Centre. So basically, it was the mic. It was like basically a room attached to the church. So we're in there and we're kids. We're warming up and then ding, 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 do, 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 do. And this sort of vicar priest-looking guy comes over and he goes, "All right." And I says, "How you doing, mate?" And he goes, "I'm good." He said, "How much are they paying you to play here tonight?" And I said, 30 quid. He went, here's 40, now piss off. He basically paid us to leave. Yeah, to not play. It was brilliant. He heard us. We were crap. But he heard us. He was like, here's 40, now piss off. So, but you could afford to do those in those days. There was that option. You could go and screw up in front of, 20 of your mates and have a laugh. And, the PA was going to be terrible, but you were cutting your teeth. You were learning the trade. You don't get that chance anymore. The way it rolled, the way it goes down now is if you're bad, night one, you're bad. It's done. You're out.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not coming back.
I remember literally falling backwards off the stage. Now, granted, this wasn't entirely my fault, but if that had happened now, yeah, you're right. You're burnt. You're done.
There's a million bands ready to take your place, brother.
Yeah, and don't be wrong. This was actually like a poor stage design. In my defence, the sound guy came over to me and said, "I've been waiting for this to happen for like at least a year since the stage was redone." Because honestly, the drum kit was right by the back of the stage, and there was a drop behind it, and I think a Hindu had decided to raid the stage, and obviously I hadn't got quite set up properly once they'd gotten off, and I went timber straight over the back, taking out the guy's sound system.
Mike, what they do is what they've done is they've taken that stage that was probably a decent stage. They've cut it in half. Why? Because they can get 16 or 17 more paying customers at the bar, taking up the space where the band could give you a good show
while the cover band is playing.
Good man. While the cover band is playing.
That's
almost certainly.
I can't believe that's become a worldwide obsession. I get the cover band thing. I have many friends who are in cover bands.
Yeah, me too.
The sad thing is I have many friends who stopped their original band to do covers. And I don't, there's two bands in Chicago that I'll leave nameless. I can't believe what they make. The one band, probably the biggest rock cover band, they are a 7-figure a year band.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, minimum, they won't touch a stage for less than $5,000 a night. And it's amazing to me that those guys can pack this thing, and then an original band has 12 people at the show. I don't understand. I sit here at sleepless nights trying to figure out what people are thinking.
Well, you've got bands like Australian Pink Floyd, Chuck, that are close to 100K a night on some of the bigger gigs. I know the girl who does the Great Gig in the Sky part of the Pink Floyd set that they do. And she was sort of breaking it down for me one night. I won't go into exact details, but it is insane, the amount of money. And why? Because you can go there, you can close your eyes, and you're listening to Dark Side of the Moon. You are right in the middle of Wish You Were Here.
But you have to close your eyes.
You got to close your eyes. That's right. And actually, I've seen some Beatles cover bands that are pretty darn close. Sound wise, look wise.
Well, I think some of the cover bands are better than the originals.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and then the prices. I mean, Mike and I were talking about this the other day about you're going to spend the same amount of money to go see the cover band that you go see the original band.
Yeah, and you guys are right. And sometimes the problem is you can't see. You see a Led Zeppelin cover band, you're not seeing Led Zeppelin. You can go and see Jason Bonham. You can go see Jason Bonham playing his dad's songs with a plum, but you can't go and see Led Zeppelin.
Well,
so what do you do?
Is the other thing that we said is it kind of makes sense when you're going to go and see something, where the guys involved originally are dead. I mean, it's not like you could have the option to go and see the original. But when you're going to go see the cover band of a band that's actually alive and still touring, then it's kind of like maybe just wait to. And I know, to mention the Chili's again, I've seen cover brands charging similar to what the Chili's do. Now, I know that they do probably charge a little bit more than last time I looked, because like the example I gave you before was from like 2 years ago, I think. Yeah. But it's still a similar price, and you're sat there going, it's not that hard to get tickets for that band. It's not impossible.
You've just made me remember a story I just saw the other day. The Korn cover band. Did you guys hear this story about the drummer who was playing? And so that he's an English guy. It's an English Korn cover band. They're halfway through the song. The guy's having a stroke. This is all on video, by the way. Look it up on YouTube. The guy's having a stroke and keeps going. He keeps going till the end of the song because he didn't want to let the fans down. And then keels over on his drum kit. Look it up. It is genius. And by the way, hats off to that guy. That's a soldier right there, boys.
Oh yeah, no, that is commitment to the cause.
Sure. Well, actually,
do we know if he's all right? By the way, yeah.
I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he's fine. And if not, the band will survive. That's the most important thing. We got to keep our cover bands. What are you talking about, Mike? Anyway, right. I mentioned the Beatles earlier. If I can just say this for today, 1963. What is the day today, by the way? July 5th. July 5th, 1963. The Beatles played at the Plaza Ballroom in Dudley in the West Midlands, which is my hometown. Well, just down the road, Birmingham. Close to where I was born, actually. So check this out. Appearing with the Beatles that night was Denny and the Diplomats, led by Denny Lane, who went on to join the Moody Blues, and eventually he joined up with Paul McCartney and formed Wings. How about that?
Oh, wow.
There's a bit of trivia for you. Also born on this day, 1943, Robbie Robertson. Obviously, we know Robbie Robertson. Oh, man. He was obviously famous from being in the band, but he had some brilliant hits of his own. Somewhere Down That Crazy River was an absolute classic. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we say bye-bye to the listening audience?
No, I vented my hatred towards cover bands.
Mike?
Well, there is one thing. I wonder, does anyone have any ideas as a solution to the whole dearth of venues issue?
Quite frankly, no. Unfortunately, you can see whatever band you want on YouTube as well. I hate to say it, but
I mean, why do people not want to go to shows? Is it the pricing? Are people sick of seeing live bands? I just don't I just can't get it in my head.
Well, I would suggest, boys, we attack this big time next week. Until then, I want to say thank you very much to Chuck. Thank you very much to Mike and you, the listening audience. Please do us a favor, like and subscribe, and come follow us at rockmyworld.com.